Hey everybody, thanks for watching the Commander's Brew here on YouTube. If you're liking these deck techs and everything we're doing here on the channel, go ahead and hit subscribe. It really helps us out a lot. Leave us a little comment. If you really want to help out, check out Patreon, patreon.com/commandersbrew. You can help actually make the show. Our patrons are the reason we're able to continue putting content out there for everyone, and we really appreciate them helping out. And go join in. You can jump in on the Discord and help us brew these decks. We had some help this week on this deck, as you'll see, and it was a lot of fun in there. So check us out, patreon.com/commandersbrew. But without further ado, let's get to today's big deck tech. And Sean, this one, I'm just going to say, this is wild. This made me think about life. It made me think about so many different cards in Magic. It made me stretch what I thought were the possibilities of a deck, even rules-wise. This deck is a big one. This one was influential for the rest of my deck building career, I think.
Oh, influential for the rest of your deck building career, Andy.
Yeah, I'm willing to say that right now.
It's like you have enter. It's like through the looking glass, right?
It's a little bit through the looking glass. We are through the looking glass here, people.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll start off by just laying down what happened here. So this week's deck, I've been thinking, for some reason, I've been thinking about Birthing Pod a lot. I'm like, oh, I love Birthing Pod. Great card.
Love it.
One of my earlier decks was built around Birthing Pod, and I've had very much fun with it ever since then. It's been great. I remember seeing the card when I first started playing Magic, being like, that's a good card. It got banned in Modern, and I was very happy because it was going to be cheaper for Commander, which it was, which is great. Still remains cheaper than it was even back when it was seeing Modern play, so that's still pretty good. Anyways, but from that Birthing Pod, like looking at that card, it's kind of has a, like, it's a graveyard style deck. There's going to be a lot of creatures, obviously. But I wanted something else, right? I wanted something else to do with this great and powerful card and these great and powerful effects. And I think I came across it, and I think I found a very unique way of building a Birthing Pod style deck. And
okay.
I'm going to start not with Birthing Pod, but I'm going to start with telling you about the card that I decided to go with and build the deck around as like a captain to Birthing Pod's like first mate. And that is Happily Ever After. Wow. What? Why? I'll tell you why. It's very fun. Happily Ever After is from Throne of Eldraine. It is the 2 and a white enchantment that says, when it enters the battlefield, each player gains 5 life and draws a card. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 5 colors among permanents you control, there are 6 or more card types among permanents you control and or cards in your graveyard, and your life total is greater than or equal to your starting life total, you win the game.
That's a lot of check marks.
A lot of check marks. So let's just, so briefly, again, okay, everyone's gonna gain 5 life and draw a card when this comes into play. I need 5 colors of permanents.
Yeah.
That I control. Then I need 6 card types among permanents I control and or cards in my graveyard.
I mean, this one's an enchantment, so you obviously have an enchantment. You for sure have a land.
Right? You're going to have a land.
So really got to have 4 other ones.
Yeah.
So probably instant, sorcery, creature, artifact?
Yeah, sure.
Great.
Planeswalker and Tribal are also included.
Sure.
And your life total is greater than or equal to your starting life total. This one actually might be the hardest thing to maintain in the deck, actually.
Okay.
Because I think it is the easiest way for people to keep you off of this win con, right? They just need to attack you. So we have to get all those things. We have to protect all those things. And we have to have Happily Ever After survive until our upkeep with all that stuff. So, it is a tall order, right? And so what I was talking about earlier, I was talking about Birthing Pod. I was like, well, we got to get all these permanents in play. We got to get all these types. We got to gain life. What better way to make all this happen than with a toolboxy style Birthing Pod deck, right? That's one of the things Birthing Pod is known for, is creating this style of deck that can deal with anything, right? It deals with all the threats on the board. It's very resilient and things like that. I will read Birthing Pod for you also. Actually, Sean, you can go ahead and read Birthing Pod.
Okay,
please.
It's an artifact. It costs 3 and a green, but that green is Phyrexian. So you can either pay 3 and 2 life, or 3 and a green. And when it's down, you can pay 1 and a Phyrexian green, so either 1 and 2 life or 1 and a green. Tap it, sacrifice a creature. You get to search your library for a creature card that costs exactly 1 more than the one you sacrificed. No more, no less. It must be exactly that. You put it straight into the battlefield, and then you shuffle your library, and you can only do that anytime you could cast a sorcery.
Right. So we got Birthing Pod in here, and that's going to be able to go get us different pieces of this alternate win con that we need. It should be noted that there are some other Birthing Pod effects that we can create through some other cards as well. So
Yes.
actually a really excellent way to get more than one Birthing Pod effect going per turn is to go and get your other Birthing Pods. But actually, you know what? We're going to talk about those in a second, as you might have just seen. Our commander for this, but mostly because of the other Birthing Pod colors and because of Happily Ever After, is Estrid the Masked. This is because I wanted to keep this to Bant colors, just for mana reasons. I didn't want to stray too far from 3 colors. I wanted to keep it tight, and this actually gives us Estrid being a planeswalker. Gives us an extra permanent type for Happily Ever After, as well as some pretty decent little protection. So Estrid the Masked is the 1 green, white, blue. So Bant, 3 loyalty planeswalker. She +2, and you can untap each enchanted permanent you control. So we do have some of that enchantment ramp in here. That's going to help us untap our lands and stuff if we want. But also, what's really going to help us out here is her -1, which is create a white aura enchantment token named Mask, attached to another target permanent. The token has enchant permanent and totem armor. So we're going to make masks once it's time to drop our Happily Ever After, and then Happily Ever After has a totem armor on it.
Yeah, we can put a mask on it. Totem armor is a replacement effect, but if you're already a rules nerd, I bet you already know what totem armor is.
Yeah.
But that means if anything would destroy it, maybe on a creature, if it loses if it takes damage equal to its toughness, or something says destroy, or if a spell says destroy target enchantment and it has totem armor, that means the totem armor enchantment, the thing that's giving it totem armor, is actually the thing that gets destroyed.
Exactly.
Not the thing. It's like a shield. It's like a shield.
Yeah, it's like a shield.
That's genius, Andy. You're going to put a mask on Happily Ever After, and now they can't destroy that quite as easily. They need 2 shots at it.
Exactly. And if it may even come to that you do use this ultimate where it's put the top 7 cards of your library into your graveyard and return all non-aura enchantment cards from your graveyard to the battlefield, then do the same for aura cards. There aren't that. I don't think we have any aura cards, so don't worry about that part of it. But we do have a bunch of enchantments, one of them including Happily Ever After, so Estrid can even be relevant.
Oh, wow.
If someone does manage to deal with your Happily Ever After, she can get it back for you if you're getting up to that ultimate range. Estrid's not like by any means like a super essential part of the deck. She's there for a little bit of protection if we need that extra creature or card type as well. But I know what you're thinking.
We're all thinking it.
Yeah, you need 5 colors for Happily Ever After to be able to win. We need 5 colors across all permanents. Well, I promise you
we're not allowed to run permanents that are black or red.
We're not allowed, and we do not. So allow me to show you how we're going to do this by getting into the neat moves.
Working on a
Neat.
Okay, since I'm going to pull... I'll get to the 5-color thing in a second. First, I wanted to talk about the other Birthing Pod effects that we have in the deck. There's a few. Sean, why don't you read us these 3?
Okay, so other ways we're going to go looking for things is Prime Speaker Vanifar. 2 green, blue, legendary elf ooze wizard. Cool. She's 2/4 with the pod ability. Tap, sack another creature, activate anytime you could cast a sorcery. It's the same thing, but no mana cost. You just have to tap. Search for a creature with mana cost equal to 1+. It's exactly the same as Birthing Pod.
Yeah, exactly. And same thing, sorcery only. Except one of the really great things with her is that you can actually go get her with Birthing Pod.
Yeah, right. Get up a backup birthing
Yeah,
pod.
and then you have two. Obviously, you're going to need other creatures, but you get two. You get two effects now on the board, which is actually really, really good.
Yeah, we're also running Neoform. It's the sorcery green-blue. As an additional cost, sack a creature. Same deal. You got to get something that's exactly one bigger than the one that you sacked. But this one comes into the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it.
Yeah, and there's one more as well.
Yep, and we're also running Eldritch Evolution. 1 green as an additional cost. Sack a creature. This is a sorcery. This time you have some flexibility. You get to search for a creature that is X or less, where X is 2 plus the sacrifice creature's CMC. So this is a sorcery, but it doesn't say only do at sorcery speed. So if you could somehow flash this in, I don't know. That's a corner case. But you get to, this is the biggest bump. You get to make a creature that is 2 bigger. So if you want to grow fast, this is your best option for that. And this is one of those cases where you can get almost anything with it. All those other ones are specific. If you don't have a 3-drop, you can't get a 4-drop. But Eldritch, if you have a 2-drop, you can get a 4-drop. If you got a 6-drop, you can get a 4-drop. Most flexible.
Yeah, exactly. That gives you a little added flexibility there. Neoform is just cheaper and lets you guys get +1/+1, which is not really relevant. So, but these are all ways, and it actually is nice once in a while to have just like you just draw that Neoform and be like, oh great, I can do this right now. Like I can do this turn.
Great.
Because Vannifar, you need to wait a turn, right? You get Summoning Sickness. Obviously, Pod, you get to do it right away. Also, it just is a little more involved, but. They're all good cards. Like I thought at one point I might end up like taking one of these out or 2 of them out, like maybe the sorceries I would take out eventually, but I found them always to be something we wanted in the deck. They just help you. It just helps you make it happen faster. And if you can step up the chain and you're putting stuff in your graveyard, which we have some graveyard interaction, and then able to also upgrade your creatures, it's just all gravy. So it's all very, very good. And kind of this is the engine that the deck runs on and is able to be a thing because of it. Next. Okay. We're still not getting to the 5 colors yet because we have to talk about our life total. Because like I said, this is the hardest part of this deck is to keep that life total high. Keep it equal to your starting life total or greater. And I think the best, well, maybe not the best way to maintain it, but the best way to get back. Right, you're always in this deck. You're always going to be able to get back because we have the card Resolute Archangel. Resolute Archangel is absolutely one of the most important cards in the deck because you can take damage, we can get attacked. You know, we've got stuff like Ghostly Prison and things like that to keep people at bay. But if they're getting in, if there's people draining our life total, whatever it is, Resolute Archangel is going to be a big help in getting it back. And we have to step up the Birthing Pod ladder to get to her. 5 white for the 4/4 Flying Angel. When Resolute Archangel enters the battlefield, if your life total is less than your starting life total, it becomes equal to your starting life total. Right? So right away, just gets us back to even. And
1 point away.
Right? And if we got numerous sources of life gain in the deck too. I mean, not like so many, to be honest with you, but enough that Resolute Archangel setting us back to our starting life total, and then even if we gain a few life on top of that because someone, again, might be draining us or whatever it is they're doing, we're going to be pretty safe once this card is in play or in your graveyard because we're going to be able to, pod for things that get her back or so on and so forth. Next, we to protect that life total, Blazing Archon is maybe the next most important creature in the deck. 6 white. This is a tough one to get to. 9. We have Terastodon in this deck, which is an 8-mana creature, basically just to get us to Blazing Archon, because we needed an 8-drop, and Terastodon's a good one. It's an Archon. It's a 5/6 flyer that says creatures can't attack you. Just if you can land this card and protect it, that means your life total is going to roughly stay the same because no one can attack you, and that's the main way that people are going to get your life total down. So it's a very good card. And also, I mentioned life gain. This is the main way we're going to do it. It's Tristani. So it's a very creature-based deck. We're podding. We're getting a lot of creatures enter the battlefield. Tristani is actually going to be one of the best ways for us to gain life as a result because she's the 4-mana, green, white, 2/5, that when another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain life equal to that creature's toughness. The populate is basically irrelevant. I don't think we have anything that makes tokens in this deck, so unless someone else gives you tokens or something like that, you're not really going to be using that. I don't think. Anyways, there might be.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's one key card that does make tokens that we'll get to later.
Yeah, maybe I'm forgetting something. Oh yeah, no, we do have. Yeah, no, you're right. There's one very key card. Okay, so we will talk about it very soon. So life gain, protecting that life gain, that's important. Let's move on to now. Finally, how are we going to get 5 colors in this 3-color deck?
Yes, Andy.
Sarah, can you turn that mobile off? Thanks. Is that what you were going to say?
No.
Pardon? Oh, I don't know. Not too much. Half hour.
I don't actually hear it. Oh.
You don't actually hear what?
I don't actually hear the mobile myself.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I didn't think so. It was just bugging me. It was distracting me. What? Yeah. I told you last night. Huh? I know. What were you going to say, Sean? Sorry.
I was just going to go to the next segment.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought it sounded like you were going to say something else.
Yeah, I was phrasing it as a question.
Okay. All right, let's get back into it. So yeah, now, okay. Hang on. Okay, so let's talk about finally, how are we going to get 5 colors in this 3-color Bant deck? How are we going to do it?
Andy, you are mad for attempting this.
I am mad.
At first, I was like, without using the 5, because you may be thinking there's a couple of creatures that say this card counts as all creature colors.
Yes.
There was one from Return to Ravnica. However, those have a 5-color color identity. Those are not allowed in the deck. You can't cheat by putting those cards in your deck.
No.
But I think this is genius. You've got clone/gigantoplasm. Any clone effect, it becomes a copy of a creature on the battlefield. If there's a red creature or a black creature or perfectly a Rakdos creature, that's red and black, you can just clone that and that becomes your win con. But still, if that's not like, if there isn't a player with one of those colors, clone isn't going to get you all the way there.
That's exactly it. So clone is an awesome card in this deck, even if it didn't give us the colors, to be honest, right? Because we can pod for clone or for gigantoplasm and have it become a creature with more CMC, and then we can pod the clone for something that's even more, right? So if we want to get to Blazing Archon and there's already something out there with 8 CMC, we don't have to pay the full 8. We can make clone become it and then pod and get it, right? It's great.
That's genius.
It's awesome.
Because clone does copy. When you clone a card that has a card, it will try to copy the mana cost.
Yeah.
So if you make a token, tokens have no mana cost, but this is not a token. If you copy a Terastodon, it's 8 CMC.
I mean, tokens can have a mana cost. If we use, Rite of Replication to create a token copy, that would.
That's
have a CMC.
Right. I was being
but you're right. It's
too
like
general.
Soldier tokens don't have a CMC. Or
Yeah.
But yes, that is one. That is one way. Clone, if we're playing against Rakdos, maybe we can do it that way, right?
How else do we want to do it?
Oh, this one is... I've seen this card so many times in Forge, and I'm like, what a piece of garbage. But here we are.
Now.
But here we are. Oh, man. It's Sarpadian Empires Volume 7. Now, I know what you're thinking.
Yeah, we can't go right to Volume 7. We haven't read Volume 1 to 6.
Isn't Volume 6 the best of the Sarpadian Empire's volumes? Like, why aren't we using Volume 6? Did we not say everything we needed to say by Volume 6? No, wrong. We need to get to Volume 7.
I mean, and in Volume 4, there's that big twist where they killed the Thrall leader.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, spoiler alert.
Sorry, we didn't need to spoil the Sarpadian Empires. Listen, this card is crazy because I'll read what it does in a second. But this card is one, I think, I can't say for sure because I haven't looked at every card. But this is the only card I know of where it's in italics on the card. Like the title of the card is in italics. And that's because
I hadn't noticed that.
I guess it's because it is a title like it is a title of a thing in the card. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like it's weird.
sure.
Here's the other thing. This card's not legendary. Don't you think this card should be legendary?
Yep.
It's volume 7.
Well, it's like if you ever go to a bookstore, though, there's tons of them on the shelf. So maybe this isn't like the manuscript.
This is not one of them. Yeah, exactly. It's not the original. It's not a first printing or whatever. This is the paperback.
Yeah, it's a paperback version.
Yeah, and it's like not one of the best ones. So like there's still a lot left over. Fair enough.
Yeah,
okay, you know what? Just because it's a title, it doesn't need to be legendary. You're right. You're right. That's fair. But let me tell you what this card does. It's a 3-mana artifact, and as Sarpadian Empires Volume 7 comes into play, enters the battlefield. Choose white citizen, blue Camerid, black thrall, red goblin, or green sapperling. Then you can pay 3. So you choose one of those. Then you pay 3 and tap this, and you create a 1/1 creature token of the chosen color and type. So this is a way for us to get an off-color permanent.
Yes.
Depending on what, and this is great because usually depending on what you're playing against. So if I know I'm playing against a Gruul player, I'm playing against an Azorius player, and I'm playing against like, I don't know, a Celestian player. I know I can get red, but I can't get black any other way in this game. So I'm going to make Sarpadian Empires make a black thrall, because then my clones are hopefully going to be able to come in and do the job and grab something red. That's not it, though. That's not all we have. Sean, we got another little artifact here that was actually suggested to us in our Discord by Joseph in our Discord, and this is a great one. I love this one.
Oh, thank you, Joseph, for suggesting Scrap Basket. I never heard of this. 4 generic Scarecrow, 3/2, 1. Activate. Scrap Basket becomes all colors until end of turn. There you go.
There you go. That's a way to just get them all. Get them all right there. Now we have a permanent of each color, and Scrap Basket's going to help us out big time there.
Because it doesn't start as all those colors. You're allowed to run it in your deck.
Absolutely. That's right. I will also say there's another little trick we can do with the Sarpadian Empires, but I'll get to it in a sec.
Okay.
But Scrap Basket, a great include here. This is like the Sphinx of the Guild Pact, but it's the one you're allowed to do because it's an activated ability, like you said. We had another excellent suggestion from Matt Fox in our Discord. And he suggested Plane-Wide Celebration, which is an awesome way, because Plane-Wide Celebration is a sorcery. It's 5 green. I actually needed more sorceries in the deck too, because you want to have a nice, you want to be able to have one in the graveyard for when your Happily Ever After is going off. It's a sorcery that says choose 4. You may choose the same mode more than once, so you choose 4. Create a 2/2 citizen creature token that's all colors. That's the one. That's the main one. We can create 4 of them with this. So, if you're worried about pinpoint removal, you always want to create more than one just to be safe, right? But there's also some very relevant other modes on this card. For example, return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Maybe they've already dealt with your Happily Ever After. Plane-Wide Celebration gets it back to your hand. Amazing. Proliferate is definitely the least relevant one, although your commander is a planeswalker. So
yeah, and we neoformed a +1/+1 counter on one thing.
Exactly. So it's not totally irrelevant. And you gain 4 life. So gaining life always relevant. This card is perfect for this deck. Absolutely perfect. And thank you, Matt Fox, for the huge suggestion there, because this is an essential card.
Yeah, great.
Right.
Thanks for everyone for getting in our Discord. If you want in on that too, that's one of the perks for one of the levels of becoming a Patreon. So consider that if you want to get in on that. And thanks to everyone who also suggests. Sorry if we didn't use your ones this time. We'll keep doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. So then we also have just the different types, and I just wanted to go through what types we're including here. Very simple off the top. We're going to have a creature. Obviously, we have many creatures in this deck. Satyr Wayfinder is a really great one, though, because it's 1 and a green. It's a 1/1. It enters the battlefield. You reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You can put a land card from among them in your hand. So it gets you a land early in the game. It's a 2-drop for your for your potting stuff, and
Oh yeah.
and it puts a bunch of stuff in the graveyard, which is relevant for Happily Ever After, right? So it's going to dump whatever else into the graveyard, and then it's going to count that. So that's really nice.
Great. I noticed you've also got Font of Fertility, which is an enchantment for a green, and you get to pay 1 and a green, sack Font of Fertility, search your library for a basic land card, put it in the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. As you mentioned, this is a ramp spell that Happily Ever After doesn't care where those permanents are, on the battlefield, in the graveyard, so this will get an enchantment into the graveyard. You've taken an ability that we usually attach to sorceries or perhaps instants and put it on an enchantment. This is great.
Now, of course, like Happily Ever After itself is an enchantment.
Oh, that's true too.
Which I did kind of forget about. But we also have a couple of the land auras, as I'm kind of big on these lately. I think they're really good. For ways to ramp us. Estrid's going to help with that. Estrid can also get back Font of Fertility.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Font of Fertility is cool. But the next one's kind of the better one.
Wafers Bobble, an artifact that costs you 1 to drop, and for 2 and a tap, sack it. You get to go search up a basic, put it into battlefield tapped. This is the artifact way of doing the same thing, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and like the kind of the thing about Wafers Bobble is obviously it's good early, but even late in this deck, if you don't, we have a couple artifact creatures, right, that you might be able to have on your battlefield. But if you don't, you can just play you need an artifact, so play your Wayfarer's Bobble and just let it sit there. Like, if they go to remove it, well, no big deal. You can just get your land from it, put in your graveyard, where it's harder to even remove then. But like,
well, it works in your graveyard too.
Exactly, it works from both places. So if you're worried about exiling graveyards, you can just let it sit on your battlefield, stuff like that, right? This one's cool because obviously we're going to control lands, but again, if I don't know, we want lands. If you want to land in the graveyard, I found these actually these 3 cards are really great. So the Blighted Cycle for lands, not just for obviously having the permanent type, but this is all 3 of them are relevant. I'll read you the white one. It's Blighted Step. Oh, thank you. Sarah just brought me a coffee. That's very nice.
Thank you.
Blighted Step is great. It taps for colorless, but then it has the ability of 3 and a white to tap it. You gain 2 life for each creature you control. So again, this is like just like a free way for us to gain life. Obviously, it's not free. We're paying 4 mana and losing land, but it's free as far as like including it in our deck. We're not including.
It doesn't take a card slot.
Exactly. And like the mana, because again we're only 3 colors here. Like adding a few of these colorless lands is not a big strain on our mana base.
Which it would be if we tried to run all 5.
Exactly. I wouldn't be running these. But actually, I found Blighted Step. I did do a few practice games with this deck, and Blighted Step was relevant almost every time. It was amazing. So Blighted Step, very, very strong. You end up getting a lot of tokens from... There's an angel that's like when you sacrifice a creature, you get a spirit, right? When you sacrifice a non-angel. So like that card's in our deck. So we actually end up getting a lot of 1/1 spirits. And Blighted Step is great with them. The green one, I'll say, is a ramp card. It's really, really good. And then the blue one lets you draw cards. So again, all are relevant. All are good. And now it's time for Harry's pick. Sean, why don't you read Harry's pick? Because, I mean, it's a bit of an obvious one, but we're just going to mention it quickly.
Aw, Harry's pick is Crib Swap. Harry, did you pick this card because you are ready to leave the crib and you want to start running around everywhere?
Yeah, he Crib Swap. That's you in the crib.
Aw, little eyes.
You're the little green changeling. Is that what you are? Yeah, Crib Swap. Sean, why is this one so good?
So this is a tribal instant. This is one of those, they let this become a type. Tribal is a type. There can be tribal instants, tribal sorceries, tribal enchantments. I don't know what else they have that is tribal, but do they have tribal creatures, or are they just the creature? Anyway, the whole reason they invented this card type was so that these cards could count as goblins or could count as merfolk or whatever. But the rules made it a type, so this is one of our 6 types. It's an instant for 2 and a white. Exile target creature. Its controller creates a 1/1 colorless shapeshifter creature token with changeling.
You take the baby and you leave this little weird changeling.
Yeah, right? Oh, Harry, great pick.
Thanks,
pick.
Harry.
Perfect.
Great pick, buddy.
Perfect pick, Harry.
Great timing on that one. But yeah,
there's
obviously,
another tribal.
Crypt's a good removal card also, right? Just like awesome
Great
removal.
removal. XL at instant speed is what we want. White has a couple famous ones at 1 CMC, but 3 CMC is a very fairly priced one.
Yeah.
And also in here is Fairy Trickery. 1 blue, tribal instant for fairies. Counter target non-fairy spell. And then you exile it instead of putting it in the graveyard. So this is another, does not, I mean, it counts towards both,
Yeah,
right?
this counts
if
as
this is in your graveyard,
each
it's
of
like
these,
how an artifact creature is 2 types. This is also 2 types, tribal plus instant.
Like it's hard. It's not super hard to get the 6 permanent types, or sorry, 6 card types.
Right.
It's just this is just gonna help you, right? Like if you do get your graveyard exiled, which happened to me in one of my test games, you're gonna be happy to see Crib Swap or Fairy Trickery because you're like, oh sweet, now I'm 2 up right away, right? Like I'm back on 2. I've got my land. The Happily Ever After's enchantment, you're definitely going to have a creature. Like already you're at 5 just by playing this one card, right? So
yeah,
if you can get an artifact or something like that, your commander's planeswalker, that's going to help too. So it's not, we've built this deck so that it's not super hard to get that to happen, right? So that's what we're looking for.
great.
Yeah, it's a lot, right? It's a lot to keep track of. One thing with these pod decks is that you need to really know what you're going after with the next pod creature, right? And our curve is such that it is still, obviously it's still a curve, right? We have a lot at 4, and that's just the way it was, right? Like cards that were essential, cards that we wanted. There's a lot at 4, more at 5, or sorry, less at 5, less at 6, 7. We go all the way up to 9. This deck could honestly probably use an extra 3-drop, maybe. If I'm being honest, because there's a lot of good 4s that you want to get to. So, if you're looking at this deck list, maybe that's something you might want to tweak. But in general, I found it was working enough that not only can you win with Happily Ever After, but the cards are just, you get a lot of value from this deck because that's what happens with Birthing Pod, right? You just get a lot of value from that, and it's really good. A card that I didn't mention, and I don't think we have on the docket to mention, but I think I should just quickly here is Emeria Shepherd. Is that what it is? No.
Oh, yeah. That's the one that gets back permanence if you drop a plains.
Yes, Emeria Shepherd is. Yeah, very, very good in this deck. I will just read it real quick. 5 white, 4/4 angel, landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, you may return target non-land permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. If the land's a plains, you put it right into the battlefield. We talk about this card a lot on the show because it's so good. But again, we can pod for this creature, and then our landfalls get us the creatures that we've podded either to our hand.
Oh my
or
gosh!
If we're getting plains, they go right back. This card, it was like, if we're still doing the 3 stars, Emeria Shepherd is probably the number 1 star, obviously outside of like the pod and Happily Ever After like thing that we're doing here. Yeah, probably the number 1 star. It's just so good, so essential. Like, you even get this card before you go get your Resolute Archangel, even if your life total's down. Like, she's just so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the deck though. There you go.
Ooh, amazing. Were there any surprises and discoveries?
A bit of a surprise, yes. No discoveries because I think we were largely dealing with stuff we've kind of done before.
It's a fine line, right?
Yeah, exactly.
How do you define that? What is the difference between a surprise and a discovery? It's a
yeah, but this one was a fun surprise in how good it is. In Murder of Crows, 3 blue, 4/4 flyer. It's a bird. Whenever another creature dies, you may draw a card, and if you do, discard a card. Great. Guess what? We can discard cards to, put them in our graveyard and get them back later with Emeria Shepherd or count towards our card type total, right? And this digs us to find our Happily Ever After or our Birthing Pod or whatever, right? So
yeah,
Murder of Crows is really good. And having a 5-drop, to pot out of a 4 into a 5, into a 6, obviously we need that. So actually it being a 5-drop is kind of one of its main attractive things about it is that it's a 5-drop. So it's a good card
and
here.
Like a 4/4 flyer is not that bad.
Not bad. Also, it blocks well. It can attack
bad.
if you need it to, which we don't usually need to. I did mention I could write a whole article about this deck because of the strategy you need to use, which is like you're not attacking in this deck. You're just protecting your life total for the most part. But there are moments where you're like, okay, I don't know if I can do it, so I'm going to start attacking. So that will happen sometimes, right? And Murder of Crows is good in all those fronts. And it's not just whenever one of your creatures dies. It's whenever any other creature dies. So you can really sculpt your hand with this card. It's really great.
Amazing. That's right. It's not just your side.
Right.
Okay.
Well,
great. Let's do the budget report.
Yeah.
Budget solo. This is where we take all of the cards and we see what dollar bill will buy them. We throw that dollar bill in the garbage and get a dollar bill that's one bigger.
Oh, we invested in other currency.
We potted our bills.
Pod your bills, bud.
Great. So we put this deck together on TCG Player. You can see the link in the show notes. Please use it if you're going to buy some cards. Helps us the show out. 106 on the market price, but the low is $53. If you don't mind your cards dinged up a little bit, you can put this deck together for $53.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
You can get the price down pretty easily because there's a lot of wiggle room as far as what the creatures we're getting for our pod stuff and all that kind of thing. The top two most expensive cards are tough to replace, though. That's the only thing. Sean,
they usually are.
Yeah, Sean, why don't you tell us about this first one?
Number 1, Sterling Grove. It's an old enchantment from Invasion. It's green-white. It's an enchantment. All other enchantments you control have Shroud. Can't target them. So that's great for our Happily Ever After. 1, sacrifice Sterling Grove, search for an enchantment, reveal it, put it on top of your library. So this gets us our Happily Ever After.
Yeah, very important. It gets us our Happily Ever After. It also protects our Happily Ever After if we needed to do that.
Yeah, and we can use Estrid to bring this back with her ultimate. Emiria Shepherd can bring this back after we've tutored up for it. There's lots of ways this can do double duty.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, if you've been listening to the show for a while, you know that especially in our first 100 episodes, we use whenever we build enchantment based decks or anything that this was an auto include because this is one of the few ways to tutor for enchantments that's under $20, you know?
Yeah.
So the fact that Sterling Grove is $11 currently means that, yeah, I still want to use it. It's not quite out of range for me, although it's at the top-ish budget range where I'd like to be, right?
Yeah.
If you're gonna cut this card, you're cutting one of the main ways to get Happily Ever After, which is rough. So I don't know. And there's very little. That's the knock against going with Bant here, and not including Black, because Black we'd be able to just include some low-cost tutors like your Diabolic tutors and things like that, right? One of the knocks is that you're going to have a harder time getting your enchantment, and Sterling Grove is one of the few ways which we can make it happen.
True.
Next is Birthing Pod. Kind of the inspiration for the deck is around $10 right now. Like I said before, when this was in Modern, it was even more expensive, and that was a lot of years ago. So the fact that this is still only $10, that's basically just Commander doing that, and that's because this card is really, really good. Can you do it without this card? Yeah, you can. You can lean on Prime Speaker. You've got Neoform, you've got Eldritch Evolution, which are much cheaper cards. So actually, oddly enough, if I was going to cut one of these two, it would probably be the inspiration for the deck, Birthing Pod. I don't want to at all because this was where we started. This was our inspiration point. So if you can look to do it somewhere else. But again, if you're gonna cut this or Sterling Grove, it'd probably be this, honestly.
This next one, it's close to $5. It's a Commander staple. It's Solemn Simulacrum. It's always great because it's colorless ramp and it has value when it leaves the battlefield, when it dies actually. But for a pod deck, that's even better because you could pod it up from 3 to 4, get an extra land onto the battlefield, and then when you pod this away, you get to draw an extra card with it, get your 5-drop, maybe your Murder of Crows. I don't know. It's a fantastic card. It's a Commander staple, and it's $5. cut it
Yeah.
if you want. It's nothing splashy. It's just value.
It's pure value. Like if you have a Myria Shepherd when you're doing this, like forget it. You're getting a land. It's going to be a plains. You get a thing from your graveyard back to your battlefield. You pod this away. You draw a card. You get another creature. Like it's wild. Like,
Yeah.
it is probably the best creature to pod to and pod away from. So
Yeah.
but like you said, there's lots of ways to do that. It's just value. Like if you're looking to save $5, this is one way you can do it.
Great.
Favorite cards, Sean. My favorite card. Well, it sounds like it's all of them. Which it kind of is. Actually, loved playing in this deck with Brago, King Eternal.
Really?
Yeah, 2 white blue for the 2/4 flying spirit legendary creature. Whenever Brago deals combat damage to a player, exile any number of target non-land permanents you control, then return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control. So, Birthing Pod. We have a lot of ETB effects in this deck. We have a lot of creatures. This is the toolbox effect, right? You can go and we need to exile a creature, and go get Archon of Justice and then kill it and then have it exile something, or exile a permanent, actually. You need to get a land. We can go get one of our creatures. So, great. These are all ETB or die effects or leave the battle effects, whatever it is we're talking about. Brago's great at making those happen more than once. Thing I really love Brago for is, okay, we're playing Bant. We need red and black permanents, right, to win this game. We're not playing against anyone who's red or black. Plane-wide Celebration and Scrap Basket have both been exiled somehow. Oh no, we're in real big trouble. However, we did get our Sarpadian Empires Volume 7. But we can only make one color with Sarpadian Empires. We chose red. But guess what? Brago to the rescue. He comes in. He hits someone for 2. He exiles Sarpadian Empires and then has it re-enter the battlefield. Now we can say a different color with Sarpadian Empires, and we can make a different color token, and then we win the game.
Oh my goodness.
That is an extreme corner case that did not come up when I was playing. But yeah, it might. And if you ever need to do that, Brago is your boy.
Wow, I'm stunned. That's
really
incredible.
just there for the ETB values for your own creatures. But yes, definitely that is something that can happen as well.
Well, and like, let's not forget that untaps your birthing pod, right?
Yes, that's
so
true.
Like, you get another use too, right? I don't know if you mentioned that one.
No, I didn't, but that's an even better one. But I'm just stoked about making 2
that's the best
1/1s with Sarpadian Empires Volume 7.
My favorite card, Azor the Lawbringer, 2 white, blue, legendary Sphinx, 6/6 with flying. This is a 6-drop for all of you keeping track of that. It gets you 2 Myria Shepherd when you want, or you can get it from a 5-drop. It flies. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent can't cast instant or sorcery spells during that player's next turn. This is not the reason everyone thinks of Azor, right? A lot of people think of it because when it attacks, you can pay an activated ability, which is the cost of Sphinx's Revelation, white, blue, X, gain X life, draw X cards. But when your opponents, so we can pod into Azor from 5 to 6. Now our opponents can't cast instants or sorceries for their next turn. So if I've got, and then I can cast my Happily Ever After.
Yep.
And the only opportunity is that instant on my upkeep. Like, that's the only time to get rid of it then, if everything else is lined up correctly.
Yeah.
And in which case, I'm going to try to protect it. If I'm far away from that, I'll attack with Azor, just draw a boatload of cards. I'm getting to my protection. I'm getting to the abilities, my other permanent types, my other potable things. This card does a ton of work, and it's my fave.
You're gaining life. You're drawing cards. You're kind of protecting your win con. It's like Azor does a lot of work in this deck. Great pick.
Azor does a lot of work, and it's time we acknowledge that.
Yeah, it's time employee of the month, Azor the Lawbringer. But that's everything. There you go.
Wow,
that's what we're
super
doing.
Fun, Andy. You are you're mad. You're a mad scientist.
I'm a mad scientist. Right on. Okay, so remember, hit up patreon.com/commandersbrew. Get in on that Discord. Help us make these decks. We had a lot of fun with this one and numerous before. Again, TCG Player, if you're in the States or international and you're looking to order this deck up, use our link below in the comments or in the show notes. You'll find it there. Wizard Tower, of course, wizardtower.com. Go there if you're in Canada. Use Brew Drain. That's our coupon code. Get you 5% off your singles. Yeah, that's everything. Guys, thanks for watching and listening to this week's episode. It was a blast. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you love what we're doing, consider supporting the show by going to patreon.com/commandersbrew.
And if you want to get any of the cards from our deck list, go to our TCG Player affiliate link below.
That helps us out too. And for a free way to help us out, consider sharing the show with some friends. Like and subscribe, add a comment or two.
See you later.
Bye.